to the HotSpark show. We have the lovely Leah and Trevor of Llama Llama Adventure. We just discovered that I've been actually saying this wrong for like as long as I've known you now,
Yeah.
so shame on me.
Yeah, and then I actually believe I like started to say it too, whether I knew
You
the
should
right
know
thing.
better.
It doesn't matter. You said it enough. I was like, I guess it's Lama Leah. Okay.
So what we were talking about for the audience, what we were just talking about before we came on was this transition that, Trevor stepping into the business side of what's going on and the roles as you guys were divvying them up. And then you just mentioned like you're just now sorting out the money. And the reason I wanted to go live with that is I think nearly all creators going full time are not thinking about it as an entrepreneurial venture, as a business.
Yeah.
And so, my question to either of the two of you, like, what are some of the business lessons you're learning? I mean, Leah, you've been handling so much for so long on your own. Trevor's now handling a lot with you. So you'll be at different phases. But to the both of you, what's the biggest entrepreneurial lesson you're learning?
That's a good question.
We're still figuring out the answer to that. I think, I don't know, really. It's hard to say. I think we're just struggling through it a little bit, but also like it's not like an unhappy struggle. It's like a swimming and like enjoying it, but also like you're a really bad swimmer. I don't know.
You guys mentioned the money part of it and like going, wait, we really need to figure out what our budget is so that we can live off of our content creator services in our business. So I think you guys were really headed in the right direction. I think a lot of people face it's like, okay, we're going to make money at this. How much money do we need to actually make?
Yeah. So I would say that's one of our like aspirational lessons because we haven't like actually.
I want to learn it.
So like one of the things is we always kind of planned on eventually going full time on our own business, but we kind of wanted to do that very slowly and like figure out all the money stuff first and like have a very solid plan. Like, at this point, I will quit my job because we'll be making such and such amount of money and feel good about stopping the other income and switching over. So that was kind of our plan.
But then it just got kind of dealt to us early. So it was like accidentally started that without figuring out the plan first, because Trevor was laid off at the end of November 2023. And we were like, oh my gosh, we have not yet discussed this plan.
Right.
But now like it's full hustle. We have to actually do this because it's the only income that we currently have. Like everyone says, diversify, have different streams of income in case anything ever happens. Luckily, we had done at least that step. Yeah. We were getting additional income. I was making, I'll just go straight forward with the numbers from last year. I was working like 2 hours a day, probably.
Like super part-time.
Super part-time. But I made a little over in cash, over $10,000 last year.
That's big.
From content creation. And so that doesn't include the trade that
right.
value that came along with it. So I was like, okay, like we knew that we could do it. We didn't know what that would look like. So as soon as he was laid off, I was just like, okay, like I'm a full-time content creator now.
Right.
But we still didn't know, and we still don't know because it's been about 6 months, what our actual projected income will be because, last year it was $10,000. This year, I know it'll be at least 6 times that probably. I'd love it to be 10 times that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen in the first year just because like we didn't have a plan. But year 2, I think we're going to do the 6 digits.
Yeah.
So question on that. So a nuanced question. When you file taxes, if you're filing taxes, are you reporting the trade deals?
So we did not last year because we didn't know enough about entrepreneurial tax law and trade. And since then, I'm going to give a little shout out to Penny Rose, Fee Fi Fo Fum Marketing. She financial. Yeah. She's incredible. So we've had a meeting with her, and she specializes in working on taxes with content creators. Mm-hmm. And she told us that we need to be reporting our trade income as well. Yeah. And so we need to go back and look at what last year's trade income was, and then also at this year's trade income, because that is going to be a totally different number than the cash value.
And you'll owe taxes on it.
Exactly. And so with that said, we actually almost never do trade only, because I don't want to pay taxes on it, because I, as a content creator, have to work really hard to earn that income to pay the tax on it.
We actually saw somebody have a rebuttal like that when responding to a brand who wanted some kind of gifted collab. They were like,
I'll still have to pay taxes.
yeah, I still have to pay taxes on it. This is like a no-win situation for me. And I thought, I mean, how could a business really argue with that? That doesn't necessarily mean that they'll change the partnership agreement, because some companies just are only offer, affiliates or gifted. But I just thought that was a really
it does
good.
help to bring that up in negotiations a lot. Like we've done the same thing where it's like,
We have a
look,
template for that.
this isn't like free for us to do that, like there's still a cost associated with us accepting this trade, and not to mention all the work, so like we try to avoid that if we can.
Yeah, and I'd say we learned about that reporting probably about 3 months ago. We were already pretty much doing no trade only, because we just, we have to feed ourselves, and if it's our only income, money always talks first. So
Yes.
It would be interesting to find out, the pushback against trade deal is very rarely the voices that we've heard about pushback against trade is almost an indignation, like I'm better than that. And I don't like that at all. Because well, if you were better than that, you'd be getting that, right? Like that's the free market. But to your point, like at some point I need to be either asking, and if I'm not asking, I need to be shaping what I'm offering that is worth it to cash to them. And that's the entrepreneurial imperative, right? And so I do believe in people who do that, especially if you have to be making cash. What I would be very interested in, as you review your past trade deals, trade deal for product is far different than trade deal for housing.
yes.
Because, you know what I'm saying? Because like, I don't really need another widget, bro, but like I could use a roof over my head, and so like it would be super nuanced, but relevant to RVers of maybe we shouldn't wholesale dog on trade deals. Maybe we need to categorize like life expense trade deals versus, widget sort of product trade deals, and then have a more nuanced response for newbies who are just hearing this message of reject trade, and it's like,
What if you set it up so that once you do your money budget or your like what you need to make, you set aside like a 10% room for those trade partnerships, like for the hosted stays and stuff, because then I don't know, maybe you can calculate it that it won't cost you so much in taxes. I don't know.
and it flips the power dynamic there, because the power dynamic then says, hey, we've allocated 10K a year. If you're going for the 100K mark, we've allocated 10K a year to trade deals, and we've maxed that out this year. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to turn down that trade deal. And suddenly it reframes the power dynamic. Like, you're not being a jerk. You do set aside a certain amount, and they're just not meeting that amount. So maybe we could work out something else. So let me ask you this, Leah. Have you been in sales before all this?
I've been all over doing random stuff.
Like not directly, but kind of almost.
I've trained other people to do sales. I've never actually done sales myself. I just have a very salesy brain, because when I feel passionate about something, I am like 100%. Like there is no question that I'll be 99%. I will be 100% into it. And so I've trained real estate agents on technology and how to kind of be like the best in their market. And then I also have worked in like hospitality and tourism, which is fun because that's now like my biggest market for my content creation. So I get to dabble back into that world, and I know the background of it. And I think that helps a lot, is that I was an executive assistant for a 5-star hotel in Portland, Oregon for a few years. And I actually did work with the influencers and people like that. So I have that background knowledge of what value looks like.
That makes a huge difference. I think part of the reasons creators in the beginning struggle is because they don't understand the back end. So they only see it through their own eyes, which you get and you understand, but there is a whole business of influencer marketing that could really help them. Well, I mean, So we're bringing with the Influencer Academy to a certain extent. So yeah, but
Wow.
that's good, Leah. That's really good. I don't doubt that that's helped you shape, your business for sure.
So as you go from 10K to this year looking for 60 plus K, and then maybe next year 100K, what's your tactic? Like, what's the major change is it just better to ask for more? Are you targeting a specific group? Like, you don't have to give it away necessarily, but like in principle, like what are some of the tactical strategies to doing that?
I would say the biggest thing for me is do less small jobs and focus on long-term partnerships, 3 to 6 months minimum.
Now that's easier said than done though, right? Like, I mean,
It
I feel like
is.
I hear a lot of newbies say that, but they have no structure for how they're going to implement that. Like, do you have a specific system or targeting, or like, how are you going about that?
I'm curious to see who's still offering like even 3-month agreements. Are you finding that people are you educating them and kind of like talking them into it, or are these programs already exist and you're just kind of knowing who to apply with?
They're all like
It's kind of a mix.
yeah,
Right?
it's kind of a mix.
Is it?
Like
Okay.
I would say that we target products or places, experiences, things that we're already using. And we do very little product as well. We're much more experience focused. So, but I don't know. We also have a few products that we're working with, like booking tools, route planning tools, and some of those things that are like long-term, everyday, or regular use case for RVers. So we know that because we've been in our RV since 2019, we've used these products for a number of years. We've seen them in the market. We know what's popular, and we just target those brands.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that I base it off of what other people are doing. I actually try to stay away from what other people are doing, because I feel like it's more likely I'm going to get a no or a trade offer if multiple people are working with them. I want to work with people who are working with like maybe 3 people total.
Yeah. And I would say like right now, like our hit rate on the long-term deals, like I would say that's still not like a majority of the deals we're making. But that's always where we start, I think, is
That's
kind of
where
the
we start.
important thing. So like that's always part of the pitch, where it's like, hey, to get the best value for you, it's going to work better if we get your product or service in front of our audience multiple times over multiple months. And so we always start with a pitch of like the best bang for your buck is to do like a 3 to 6 month thing. And then like if they're not into that, we'll talk down
about
to
one
like
time.
an individual deliverable or whatever. But it's always included as part of the negotiation.
And a one-time transaction, basically, because that's what it is at that point, is going to cost more than if they work with us multiple times.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we
It's just
discount
kind of
it.
like the packages. Like if you pick the higher package of deliverables, you're going to get a better deal. And I like that too. And you have me thinking like if the goal is long term, that it's easier to talk yourself down than talk yourself up from zero, right? So starting at that highest price point, but it really is doing the brand a favor, as far, not a favor, but like giving them the best value is in multiple exposure to your audience. So I mean, it's great. Are you finding that you're also educating brands on content services as you start to work with them?
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot.
Especially now that we're making that bigger ask up front. I think it really sometimes like they're like, whoa, and they're like, that's not normal. And I'm like, you're going to start seeing more of this as this creator community gets stronger. Like influencer marketing is somewhat new in some of these areas still, and they just don't know what they don't know. And so I would say something that we're educating a lot on is usage and perpetuity.
Yes.
Now, are you making these pitches, which are beefier from a price tag perspective? Are you making these pitches over a call or over email?
So typically over email. I've had 2 of them, I think like 2 of them where it went over a phone call, just because sometimes like with the bigger set of deliverables, it can be a little bit unclear, and I want them to meet us and understand like who we are, develop a personal relationship, because when you're like, hey, pay me, they don't have any trust in you other than what they see on social media and the current advertising that you've created for other people. I want them to buy into us as people, a family, a service, not just like we made this. So if I can get them on the phone, I would love it. Sometimes they just still aren't into it.
Yeah,
I know.
One brand, I just up and called them.
Whenever I would pitch for our influencers, my first goal was to always get them on the phone call, because the influencer's passion for the product, I think it was Christian from Project Trek. She was so passionate about whoever she wanted to work with that it was like an easy sell. As soon as she got on the phone, it was like, and they should meet you. I feel like if you're partnering up, it is harder with some of these bigger brands, but like the smaller, medium-sized brands who care about their influencer program, I feel like they want to meet you, right? Because you're like an extension. But but I love phone calls. It's just not as easy to book anymore with them.
Now, are you finding that the brands that you're finding and working with, have you been nurturing that relationship for a longer period of time, or these new relationships?
No, these brands usually know who we are already, because we've been either tagging them and stuff, especially if it's a product we already use. We've maybe been in their DMs, like,
met some of them at like an RV show.
RV shows are really
like
powerful.
The big one in Tampa, had a bunch of people there. So
So I would say almost never brand new.
So when you drop a bigger price tag and they're a little flabbergasted, they don't just shut you down and not respond. You have an opportunity to communicate because the relationship bank account is kind of a little more topped off. I find that there's a lot of people that, not a lot of people, I've encountered enough people, young creators that are like, I pitched, a higher ticket and I got no response. And my next thought was it a straight out cold DM?
Right.
Or how much of a relationship existed? And so that's interesting. That's interesting.
That's good. I mean, because we're constantly encouraging creators to start talking to the brands, be real customers of the brands, and flirt with the brands. And so as a way to start that conversation and to feel like this person's real and really does like our brand. And I think it matters, because by the time you get them to an email correspondence, you have built that relationship. You call it the relationship bank account.
Relationship bank
Okay.
account. You got to make deposits.
Yeah.
Deposits.
I will say how powerful the difference is, because I recently did do a colder pitch for a product that I want, and they were responsive initially in DMs, got them onto email. They offered trade. I rebutted with paid, and now they have ghosted me completely. And I'm like, darn it! Like, I really didn't nurture that one enough, and
that's a healthy response. I did not nurture that enough. I guess that's what I'm getting at. I really want to fight against this trend in the creator community that there's like a chess match or a boxing match going on against the brands. It's healthy to own it and go, I probably didn't nurture this well enough. And develop a rapport, and that's the best lesson, not the only lesson, but that's the best lesson to learn, because you'll carry that into the next relationship. So how are you, like Trevor, you said these expos and stuff, is that the top way you're connecting personally with these brands, or what's the top way you're developing rapport with these people?
Probably not the top way. I don't think.
It's hard to say. We got really, really good results from the Florida RV Super Show in Tampa this year. Last year I had attended it, but I did not really attend it in a way that I was like doing it for my business.
It
was
really
more
with that goal in mind the first time.
But I would say we're still booked out from just that event.
Which was in January.
And then we're going to the Hershey RV show in September, strictly because we know that it brings us
business.
deals.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit more, like what you said, the difference, like from the first show to the second show, you went in with your business in mind. So what were some of the things that you did at the second time around at the Super Show that you didn't do the first time? Because I think that a lot of creators go to these shows and they're like, I'm gonna meet things, but they don't bring a card, they don't bring a media kit, they don't come prepared or have their pitch, like their elevator pitch ready either. So they kind of like mouse around and maybe collect cards. So they're not in it all the way. And it could be a confidence thing, but I would love for you to share that, because then that they can help prepare them for the next time they're at a show and doing it effectively.
I think the elevator pitch is the absolute most important part.
Whoa.
I practiced that in such a way that I went to the RV content creator meetup that Joshua Sheehan, he has a Facebook group called RV Content Creators. And it was like a purchase ticket event. I can't remember, it was less than $20. You know, and,
We were all there, yeah.
yeah. And so going to that was the best way for me to get practice, because most of, like, you know, I know you guys and I knew a few other people there already. It was actually really helpful in that sense too, to be seen that you know people in the industry. I think that's really important. Brands are watching that. They're watching you interact with people, and what relationships you have. And I think just going there and like you said, I have a sticker that I give out that's really adorable and everybody loves it. And then asking not only that, but like, who is your point of contact for influencer marketing, and what are your goals this year? So like actively inquiring right at the beginning, what are your goals this year? Because that actually gives me enough information to know if I want to follow up with a formal pitch.
Yeah.
Because if they're looking to do XYZ and it's not going to feed my family, I'm probably going to go to someone else first. Doesn't mean I'm not interested in working with them. And I do want to nurture that relationship, but I want to work with them when they're ready. And so it let me know who to focus on.
Oh, yeah. You know, you sound more and more like top tier salespeople that I talk to. I'm telling you, like, I'm serious, because
It's so funny.
when a lot of these creators approach this business from the aspect of the creator first, and there's no sale that happens where I come up and pitch me. You first connect with their needs, their pains, their goals. And it's not until you can exhibit complete understanding of their goals and then can connect, hey, if I did X, Y, and Z, would that solve your need? And have that communication. Instead, it's, here's my deliverables, which we teach. You know, you got to teach what your deliverables are, but they haven't connected how these deliverables solve this pain. And the pain is not what you think. You need a campaign. That's not necessarily the pain that person is feeling. That person is feeling like, I'm getting a lot of pressure from corporate to do this, this, and this. It's like, man, I feel you, Billy. I feel you, Jane. You know, if I could get this to you, would that help you kind of represent to them a little bit better? Oh my God, would it ever? And so this idea of being collaborator, as opposed to, they should get my value, because this little basket of a reel and a UGC, it makes sense. It has intrinsic value. It doesn't. Nothing has intrinsic value in any way, shape, or form. And so, like, if I could just hold sales meetings for RV and travel influencers, I would.
Yeah, for sure.
It sounds like that's... Go ahead.
I think that's what wins a deal, is when you have put their priorities first. I never lead with what I'm offering. I always ask what they need. Because you know what? Like, I have a very kind of specific way of creating, and I can alter it to fit what they need. But if I don't know what it is, I can't even begin to create, you know, like I need to know what their goal is in order to get them either the sale or more new users or more sales of a specific product, whatever it may be. And I really like to have my idea before I even go into the pitch. I don't want to just say, here, you know, I can make a reel for you. Because what's the reel about? What value am I going to create for them? I want to go in with the full idea. Because if I don't feel that I can create that, I don't even think I should be negotiating with them. You know, and not every deal is going to be the right deal for both of us.
That's what I was going to say. In a lot of ways, I mean, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you, just like with a job right? Like you're going to be working there, you're going to be working with them. You've got to know you can serve them and that your qualifications serve their needs. And so there is that transaction that happens. And so, but that makes perfect sense. And no wonder you're getting more partnerships, because when you go in with like a servant, I say servant, but like servant leadership, or wanting to know what they need, that's how you start the conversation. That's how you serve in the first place. So I love to see that.
Going with the Gaddings have a quick question, if we could. Going with the Gaddings, say, hi, everyone. Sorry to miss the rest of this great informative conversation. Oh, I thought she had a question. I apologize. She just is hoping retail would be available. Yeah. So, like, Trevor, like, how long is it taking you to feel your way through your new role? I mean, she's been handling so much, but you've been supporting so much this whole time. Like, how are you finding your footing?
It's been good. I would say, like, Leah's solid enough that, like, she's gonna carry us forward no matter what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Which takes some of the pressure off, which is nice. Like, and so, like, I've been stepping up to help with a lot of like video creation and like editing, which is already something that I have some experience with in the past and am comfortable with. So it's been so far it's been a pretty natural transition, I think, trying to step up and kind of share the load equally.
And he also brings some humor to the table, because like I always make Trevor laugh, but I know that I don't make like almost anybody else laugh except for me. I like crack up at myself all day long. But
Nobody makes Leah laugh more than Leah
does. But he brings like the most authentic, silly stuff and can bring what I have is like this. Sometimes what I create is like very business, right? Like,
yes.
And I'm like, okay, let's make this more appealing to a larger audience. And he's going to bring that. And I'm really looking forward to being able to offer that. Because while a very business and like very clean and edited approach is great, I think that humor, it's usually with his voice or like whatever funny things he can bring. I think that's going to add some value.
I was just gonna ask that, because like his editing is gonna have his style to it, even if it's and so wondering like letting those reins go or just going, I do it more business, but you're obviously aware, so you are looking forward to that different style. But there is like a transition between you two of his reels are going to look different because he's seeing it from his point of view and doing it with his style. So I'm excited to see that. Like kind of, I'm going to see if I can see which one's Trevor, which one's Leah. I can point it out.
That's funny. So
people are already noticing.
Oh, are they?
I was going to say, I feel like the last couple ones.
There's a couple of them out there.
Yeah,
I was like, I feel like those were a little bit of a different style, but I didn't want to say anything yet. So I'm going to go back and, the last like two, I want to say.
Those were the two we did.
Really? Okay. Did you use a different filter? Because I feel like it even had like a moodier filter or something on it, but maybe that wasn't it. But yeah, I'm going to check.
I think that was probably because it was filmed on the GoPro, not the iPhone, so that camera footage looks a little bit different at least on the most recent one.
Yeah, we're also we just added GoPro. We're starting to do more GoPro stuff. We're also going to be doing a lot more photography this year because I realized that's a really great upsell.
Yes, definitely.
And so we're seeing good results with that.
What about YouTube? Are you guys on YouTube, or are you on it? Are you active on it?
We just hit 100 followers yesterday.
That's awesome. Okay, good.
We're on there. Like at the moment, we're basically just reposting 2 shorts, like the reels we're doing on Instagram. So like we are going to expand and do some more like original content on YouTube, but we haven't quite hit that point yet.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll get there like before the end of the year or not, just because we're still going to be sorting through, normalizing, and now we're posting to 4 platforms. We were really just focused on one last year, which was Instagram, and now we're posting on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube.
Love to hear that.
Yeah.
And we're also, it has already helped a ton actually. And then we are adding Sunday Lives back, which is something we did previously.
I saw you announce that.
And we're going to be doing that. It's starting this Sunday. We were going to do it on a subscriber Instagram access only. but we're actually changing that. We haven't announced it yet. We realized that not every user account has access to subscribe, which is really weird.
Yeah,
you would
it
think,
is weird.
yeah, so literally 50% of the people that tried to sign up for it don't have access to subscribe channels.
Couldn't. So
Wow.
Well, that's not very helpful.
No, so we were really disappointed. So I think we're going to do this approach that we're doing right now.
Yep.
Okay.
And offer it
great.
to everybody.
There you go.
You know, and I'm looking at your content, and I'm noticing there's no brand,
Yeah.
which I like, because we teach a lot of branding, we teach a lot of continuity. I'm even looking at your profile, and it's not necessarily what would go into like the Instagram bio formulas or any of that.
Yeah.
And I think what I like about this is that it's proof that with good business systems, you actually don't need any of that. And I wonder how many programs, including ours with Influencer Academy, are giving basics, because it feels like creators have no business sense whatsoever. So to them, they need some sort of structure. What's my bio formula? Why didn't I suddenly get sales? It's like, well, you gotta warm you up to the fact that you need to be making so many calls. You need to handle calls a certain way. You have to be appealing to people,
It's
which
the
is a tough
structure
thing.
that gives them confidence. That's why. When they feel like their bio it helps them identify what they're actually talking about too. I think so. It all kind of goes together, like the content pillars, like really basic stuff. But it actually is just organizing your mind to say, I do talk about these things, and so I need and to be consistent. And I think those are like the three main things. But when you have business practices already set up, the content just kind of goes along with that, and it's not necessarily has to be branded to death.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's because you have good, solid business structures, you allow yourself a bit more creativity on the content itself.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
will say, though, we would really like to solidify better branding this year. That is a goal of ours. It's really funny. I think about this often. Trevor is a web designer, and we haven't even finished our website, to be perfectly honest. And like,
it exists,
even
but
our
it's
media kit is like 50% done.
needs some help.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I feel like we have the other stuff, like you said, like we have all the business structure. We just don't necessarily have the marketing part of it, but I think that relationships are very powerful, and sometimes you can skip that.
Correct.
I would still like to have it.
Right. It
Well,
still
you'll be
lives in your head.
unstoppable then. If you had a good funnel, like one of the things that we've been seeing, and I would actually take your input more than many other people's, but like you have your link, and on your links you have like 5 different links. When it comes to a funnel, you give people fewer options, not more. And so like in Instagram, when you only have one link on your link list, when you click it, it jumps to that link instead of opens that pop-up box. And so like if you just had little funnel tweaks like that, because you're so good at the business side, then if you nailed the branding and the marketing, aka funnels, down and just simplified, each quarter has one goal. Like maybe Q1 of that quarter has building my email list, and then Q2 has getting downloadables in exchange for X, Y, and Z. You know, something like that. You guys would be you're unstoppable now, but it would just amplify.
And it sounds like you're wanting to build a community. If you had, like you were talking about, getting the subscribe thing open, you could still do that, but just do it with a funnel, like where you're having people opt in, and then you can send newsletters or start a Facebook group, and then
The Adventure Herd, that's the name of your community?
I named it that, yeah.
I love it. Venturesome couple, they name theirs their tribe because she has indigenous background, right? And so they can lean into that really well. I like the Adventure Herd.
yeah, that's good.
That's super
Yeah,
freaking
I
cool.
haven't even told Trevor about that yet.
This is news
but
to
I
me.
really
I like
want to
it.
go with kind of like a llama theme of like birds.
Yes!
You should stay on brand. You're staying on brand.
There should be some.
Are we sure a group of llamas is called a herd?
It is.
Okay.
I know one of our
Verify.
brand partners, Llama Naturals, they have their influencers are called the Llama Herd. And I was like, I like that. I want a llama herd.
You know, I followed in the early days, like I'm talking 2004, 2005. I followed an author by the name of Chris Guillebeau. And he had his goal was 240 countries, every country in the world in 2 years. And it became this kind of challenge, follow along adventure. And then people eventually started going along with that adventure. The Llama Llama herd, have you guys done international yet?
We haven't
Not,
yet.
not what I mean. We've been on a few international trips, but nothing in the last 7 years.
Yeah.
So
You could play on the herd big time as you have bandwidth to develop that, where people come along with you. And the creme de la creme is let's do Machu Picchu. That's a Llama Llama country, and let's just go have a herd meetup and let people like
so
come along. What'd you say?
that is actually my vision. I would love to. So the downloadable content that I want to create this year is travel guides. We
Let's
have
go.
a lot of experience with the United States, and then I do want to take it international following that. And I really would love to be like a host for guided tours
Yes.
and things like that, specifically probably for women, just because I feel like a lot of women are afraid to adventure, and like I'm not
Yes.
afraid of doing things alone and away from my family, and encouraged to like spend that time with yourself. And I want to empower other women to do that. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of like the big picture, long-term goal. But I love this branding idea behind it.
It works.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you own that,
Yeah.
and you have time. I mean, because you have solved, and I put that in air quotes for the audio. You've solved your income issues, meaning it's just a matter of scaling. And that truly is solved. Most people are still wondering how to get deals. You know how to get them. Now you just need to curate them. Because you've solved that, you should have some bandwidth in the coming year to go, how do I really curate myself as not just the Llama Llama Adventure brand, but you as hostess, the Llama Llama Lia hostess brand. I mean, it's so cute. It's so on brand, and it's so specific. You could murder it. But I will say this to the Trevors and to there are RV men that need a place to land.
Agreed.
Because it's such a strong matriarchal group on the front side. I know that the men are very involved in all that, but I find that the more of the guys that I talk to, there's this low-key craving for brotherhood that I really think that as the women go do like Machu Picchu and the guys are holding down the fort, there could be a whole retreat around those who are holding down the fort for that. Because I think,
Oh, and it'd be so good for the kids.
yeah.
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 I like that idea. Well, you got to keep us in the loop.
Yes.
As the herd grows, I want to be a herd member.
Yeah, we're
man.
going to be herd
We're
members.
little llamas over here.
First event.
Absolutely.
That's what's up, man. Maybe we should actually co.
I was gonna say,
Why
you
don't
keep
we-
talking about it. Just do it. Let's
just
go.
do it.
You've been wanting to do like this brotherhood like meetup.
Yeah,
like,
let's go.
There we go.
I'll help you
We're in
plan
Florida
I'm into
until
it.
July.
Okay, so where do you want people following you the most now that you're on all the platforms?
Well, I want them on all of them.
it. Yeah, there you go.
I want them
Follow
on
me
Instagram,
everywhere.
Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube.
Okay, and so since both of you are so involved, parting words to anyone starting out their journey. First Leah, then Trevor. Parting advice, input, thoughts you have for anyone just starting out.
Oh man, I have no idea. Oh man, what is the advice? Okay, it's don't wait to pitch until you have X number of followers.
Thank you.
I feel very strongly about that.
Good.
Okay, taken. Trevor, what do you think?
Yeah, that's a good one. Mine's kind of similar. Is like just don't wait. Like that's kind of been a big lesson for us. Is we were trying to wait until we had like this master plan and everything like totally figured out, and decided to just jump in when I got laid off. And so far, like it's been like an awesome journey, and we're super glad that we made the jump. So sometimes you kind of just gotta just do it
Yeah,
and
never
figure it out
thought
later.
he got laid off, but we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So much for being here. Stick around real quick as we wrap up. We don't want to say goodbye in just a quick moment, but thank you so much for being here. And everyone, follow them at Llama Llama Adventure anywhere you can find them. We'll be back with you guys in just a quick sec. Nicole, takeaways, man.
Man, every time we interview someone, I'm like, this is the best interview yet. But this is so powerful just because they cover like all of these topics that so many influencers are talking about, and the fact that they've joined forces and now they're working together and they're doing it in such like balance. It's nice to see.
To me, it was so refreshing. My biggest takeaway, it is so refreshing to hear a creator. You know, we talk to creators and they'll talk about what's going on, what they're worried about, or what they're thinking on. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, you got to get your priorities straight, man. You're making mountains out of molehills and molehills out of mountains. You got to focus on what matters, and that's figuring out your sales and figuring out your lead gen. Yes, logos and yes, profiles, sure, but like, go get sales, bro, or you're going to be out of the game soon.
Yeah.
And it's just refreshing. I'm happy. I'm like, okay, these guys are good. I don't have to worry about them.
No, and they're spreading the word, because I
Yes.
can't tell you how many creators I talked to are like, I got advice from Lia. She really, she poured into me about this. And it's like, so she's also spreading the word and lifting people up and trying to talk. So
That's big.
yeah.
It's big. Thank you so much, Salam Alam Adventure, Trevor and Lia. You guys are doing it. Check us out, not next week, but the following week. We're going to have another great episode of HotSpark. Thank you for checking us out. Make sure you check out Influencer Academy. And this